Catacombs of Paris, France. After a prolonged bout of heavy rain, flooded and unearthed the overcrowded Les Innocents cemetery in the spring of 1780, a wave of rotting corpses tumbled onto the property next door. According to Smithsonian Mag, this horrifying event started a 12-year project to move bodies from Paris's cemeteries down into the city's former limestone quarries, eventually packing the underground tunnels with some 6 million bodies. Today, about a mile of the subterranean labyrinth is open to visitors, who can take tours of the tunnels and artfully arranged displays of bones. Haw Par Villa, Singapore. Haw Par Villa is a 1930s theme park located in Singapore, and it's basically the polar opposite of Disneyland. Its colorful entrance of Chinese arches seems innocuous enough, but then you actually step inside and see that the park is covered with more than 1,000 statues, each stranger than the last. Lovers of all things macabre should head straight to the underworld-themed 10 Courts of Hell, a series of dioramas that portray severe modes of punishment as a way to teach young children about morality. While detailed depictions of dismemberment are scary enough, Time Out Singapore reports that the wax statues depicting condemned souls are said to come to life at night, filling the infamous 10 Courts of Hell exhibit with tortured screams. Bring your kids. Bangor Fort, India. Located just 100 miles southwest of Delhi, the lush ruins of Bangor Fort make for a curious juxtaposition against the desert landscape of Rajasthan. To this day, the oasis remains largely uninhabited due to an alleged curse cast by a disgruntled sorcerer after his advances were rebuffed by a local princess. If you prefer your trips to skew more spiritual than haunted, Traveler's former editor-at-large Hanya Yanagihara suggests saluting the sun during a session of pre-dusk yoga at the site. Gettysburg Battlefield, Pennsylvania. The Battle of Gettysburg was one of the bloodiest in American history, with somewhere around 50,000 young men dying in the three-day conflict. Many of the soldiers never received a proper burial after their untimely deaths, and some believe the souls of these men now wander the field to look for their weapons and comrades. There have even been several photographs taken over the years that seem to show some of the phantom figures, including the ghost of Robert E. Lee. Whaley House, San Diego. Thomas Whaley built this family estate in 1857, on the former site of San Diego's first public gallows. Shortly after he moved in, he reported hearing the heavy footsteps of Yankee Jim Robinson, a drifter and thief who was hanged on the site 4 years before the house was built. Whaley's family history ended up being filled with tragic deaths and suicides, many of which occurred inside the home itself. According to the Whaley House Museum, some of the family members still haunt the landmark, running up the stairs and turning lights on and off. RMS Queen Mary, Long Beach, California. Aside from a brief stint as a warship in World War II, the RMS Queen Mary served as a luxury ocean liner from 1936 to 1967. During that time, it was the site of at least one murder, a sailor being crushed to death by a door in the engine room, and children drowning in the pool. The city of Long Beach purchased the ship in 1967 and turned it into a hotel, and it still serves that purpose today, although the reported ghosts of the deceased passengers get to stay for free. For an extra dose of spine-tingling experiences, try and visit the ship's engine room, considered by many to be a hotbed of paranormal activity. Castle of Good Hope, South Africa. A sprawling building near the shoreline of Table Bay in Cape Town, the Castle of Good Hope dates back to 1666, making it the oldest colonial building in South Africa. Originally built by the Dutch East India Company as a replenishment station for ships, the site also served as a military fortress and prison during the Second Boer War from 1899 to 1902. Today, you can tour the fort's many rooms and buildings, including the gruesome torture chamber, but you might want to prepare yourself for a ghost sighting. Back in the 1700s, Governor Peter Van Noot condemned several men to be hanged to death. One of the men cursed the governor from the gallows, and Van Noot died of a heart attack later that day. According to the Castle of Good Hope's official website, his ghost has been haunting the battlements ever since. Crumlin Road Jail, Northern Ireland. Crumlin Road Jail, a Victorian-era prison in Belfast, is said to be one of the most haunted sites in Northern Ireland. Often referred to as Europe's Alcatraz, the jail contained some 25,000 inmates, men, women, and children. During its 150 years of operation, publicly hung many prisoners, and buried their bodies within the prison walls. The institution officially shut its doors in 1996, but the ghosts of deceased inmates are said to still roam the iron walkways today. If this sounds like the sort of place you want to spend time in, you're in luck. Crumlin Road Jail offers daily tours, live concerts, and reasonably priced meals at its in-house, in-prison, restaurant. It even serves as a venue for conferences and, believe it or not, weddings. Myrtles Plantation, Louisiana. Built in 1796 by General David Bradford, Myrtles Plantation is considered to be one of America's most haunted sites. The house is rumored to be on top of an Indian burial ground and is home to at least 12 different spirits. Legends and ghost stories abound, including the tale of a former slave named Chloe, who had her ear chopped off after she was caught eavesdropping. She got her revenge by poisoning a birthday cake and killing 2 of the plantation owner's daughters, but then she was hung by her fellow slaves. Chloe now reportedly wanders around the plantation, wearing a turban to conceal her severed ear. Oriental Theater, Chicago. Ghosts are said to haunt the Oriental Theater, formerly the Iroquois Theater, in the Loop area of downtown Chicago, where almost 600 people perished after a fire famously broke out in 1903. Even though the theater was completely rebuilt and rebranded, spirits of the dead remained. Apparitions have been seen in Death Alley, the street behind the theater where bodies were stacked after the disaster, and a common stop on many a Chicago ghost tour. St. Augustine Lighthouse, Florida. The St. Augustine Lighthouse is visited by more than 216,000 people annually, but it's just as well known for its otherworldly guests. Several tragic events that occurred at the now historic site have contributed to the alleged paranormal activity. The ghost of a lighthouse keeper who fell to his death while painting the tower has been spotted watching over the grounds. And ever since the horrific death of 3 young girls, who drowned when the cart they were playing in broke and fell into the ocean, visitors have claimed to hear the sounds of children playing in and around the lighthouse.